Hello, hello, hello. It's Dorothy Pilarski. So glad to see you here. It's a Catholic Moms Group having our virtual meetup. And some of you know me from way back when. Some of you are just meeting me today. I'm really, really thrilled that you're here. And as you join the meeting, I would like you to say hello in the chat. So if you could say hello, right like that, and just say, hi, I am from Poland, I am from Egypt, I am from France. What parish are you from? Oh, hello from Dallas. That's our good friend, Colleen Hammond. Vicenta, hello. Dina Manzo from Danbury, Connecticut. Hi from St. Catherine of Siena. Liz Garcia from St. Dominic's Parish. Hello from Fort Collins. Hello from Toronto. Hello from Massachusetts. Hello from Holy Family. I love hearing from you guys, okay? Nothing makes me happier than to see you say hello, tell us what parish you're from. We like these sessions to be dynamic, and we like these sessions to be fun, and we'd like you to leave fired up. So for those of you that know me, it's Dorothy Pilarski from dorothypilarski.com. And some of you are from our Mother's Ministry at catholicmomsgroup.com. And some of you are from our Dynamic Women of Faith Conference. Love hearing from you all. I don't know whether some of you may have read my book, Motherhood Matters, whether some of you may have read Colleen's book, Dressing with Dignity. I am going to take a few minutes just to tell you about our ministry, because after all, that's what we're here. We're here. Why are we here? I always like to ask the question, why are we meeting here? Well, we're meeting here for 3 reasons. Number 1, we want to pray with you, okay? Number 2 reason that we're here, we want to inspire you, and we want you to meet an incredibly dynamic, professional, incredible, fun-loving friend of mine who is both a friend, a professional associate, and I love her to pieces, Colleen Hammond. Sorry. So let's begin with a short prayer in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Dear Lord, we know that whenever 2 or more are gathered in your name, that you are present. And so we acknowledge your presence. We rejoice in your presence. We thank you for this incredible opportunity. We ask that the Holy Spirit join us today in a mighty and forceful way. We thank you for all the women that have joined us today. We turn to our Blessed Mother, and we ask you to wrap your loving arms around each and every mom that has signed on today. So we're going to pray a Hail Mary, and we're praying this Hail Mary for you, okay? Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Most of you that know me know that I always pray 3 Hail Marys, so let's just pray 2 more. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Hello, Vicenta. She says, I loved Dressing with Dignity. I bought several copies to give away to friends, which is fantastic. So just in a second, I'm going to throw up on the screen 3 slides just to tell you a little bit about our ministry. And so here we go. Our ministry, I would love if you could follow us on Facebook or on Instagram, is I Love My Catholic Moms Group. We hold an annual conference called the Dynamic Women of Faith Conference. In 2011, Colleen joined us for that conference, and she spoke at the Calling All Girls event too. We have incredible memories running around at the Four Seasons Hotel and running around the Eaton Center, taking photographs. Colleen is just such a joy to be around. So please do follow us on Catholic Moms. We do depend on donations, so if you're motivated at all, please, or if you enjoyed the session, please do make a donation. We are on a mission to revive the vocation of motherhood, and we do so primarily by starting mothers groups. I've had my own mothers group for 23 years, and we have helped over 40 parishes start Catholic moms groups. We have created a lot of different resources. We've created a publication called How to Start a Mothers Group. We have 52 studies for individuals or mothers groups. We have a mothers group starter kit. We've got a workshop, and we're just getting a webinar together on how to start a mothers group. We also host a Catholic Mom Summit and the Calling All Girls event. So we are busy, busy, busy. We've got mothers groups in the United States, our summit, we've had women from all over the world join our summit. So we are just thrilled that you're with us here today. I know some of you are saying, Dorothy, when are you going to shut up? I want to hear Colleen. So I want to introduce you to Colleen. Colleen is the founder of the Total Image Institute. She's a former on-camera meteorologist for the Weather Channel. She helps women craft their personal brand. She's been an actress, she's been a model, she is an award-winning author. She even has a photograph with Reagan. I think it's Reagan, yeah. So welcome, Colleen. Welcome to our, what an honor to have you here. Colleen, I know that, at one point in your career, you left it all to be a stay-at-home mom, and you were a stay-at-home mom for a number of years. Can you tell me, Colleen, what does the vocation of motherhood mean to you?
Well, when I was working at the Weather Channel, it didn't mean very much. For me, it was just career. And, I was 23, I was at the top of my game, and I was actually negotiating with the NBC Today show to be the first woman to do weather on any of the morning shows. And that's when I was pregnant with my oldest. And I fully intended to go back to work, had hired an au pair, made all the arrangements. And then the moment, you give birth, they don't tell you. First of all, they don't tell you about all the blood, but they don't tell you. They don't tell you what all that oxytocin is going to do in your bloodstream and how it turns you into this ferocious bear that will literally claw somebody if they try to come near your child, And so, they put this 11.5-pound baby in my arms, and I looked down at him and I went, nobody's going to touch this child. And I did not know how to process these feelings and these emotions. And I thought, oh, it's postpartum, it'll go away. And it just grew stronger. And then I was left with this dilemma where negotiating to go to the Today Show and big 6-figure income. And I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. So my husband and I sat down and figured out how we could afford for me to stay home. And I went in and I canceled all the negotiations and quit my job. And, that was hard enough as it was, but within 6 months, my husband lost his job.
Oh.
So then there was the added temptation of, now do I go back to work? But I just felt that, when you have a child, it's not a car, it's not a possession, it's a soul. And you have this monumental, the hand that rocks the cradle really does rule the world. And you have this monumental gift of motherhood that is also an obligation, and um, joyful but stressful at the same time. So those are everything that I was going through. And so my husband, I said, no, I'm sorry, you're just going to have to find something else. So at 9 months, he still hadn't, my son was 9 months old. So my husband and I had both been unemployed at that point for 3 months. We were on food stamps, we were on government assistance. So we went from two massive 6-figure incomes down to food stamps within 6 months.
Wow.
Um, so it was a struggle. It wasn't easy. And I was often tempted to call back up and say, I'll, because negotiations take a while. Um, and, just to go back to work. But I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. It would have been easy, especially, how it is with a first child. You don't know really what you have here, and it grows and grows. Cause at first it's something that cries and nurses and you have to change diapers, so the temptation was there, but the logical part of my mind said, no, this is way too important. You just need to devote yourself to this. And deep down inside, I knew at a later date. And also, I had, luckily for me, there was women around me, although I didn't have the advantage of a mom's group that, like, I'm so just thrilled that you're doing this, Dorothy. But that I had friends around me that were like, don't worry about it. And when the children are older and they're out and you're an empty nester, you can still do all that stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe not necessarily get back into television, but there's still plenty of things you can do.
Yeah, and your story and I are similar in a lot of ways. I was delivering corporate seminars across Canada, the United States, delivering seminars in Australia and New Zealand and Hawaii, seminars on how to have a successful image and how to deliver good customer service and how to negotiate and how to. And then after I had my daughter, Monica, I thought, does it make any sense for me to jump on an airplane to deliver a seminar in Calgary on how to be successful, in business to 200 women and then broker my child to somebody else, my little baby, and have them care for her? And it just didn't make sense, right?
Right.
And I was criticized for it. Everyone says gosh, what are you doing? You've got this incredible career, but I just couldn't do it. I'd stare out the window looking at the daycare that was down the street, and I would sob. I'm like, I waited too long for this baby. Anyway, I love. It's such an honor, just seeing your beautiful face and hearing you. It's just such an honor. You have written an incredible book. Dressing with Dignity. There are. I was rereading parts of it. Pope Pius XII told Christian Catholic mothers that they must preserve intact that natural instinct of modesty that God has given to their sons and daughters. He said that mothers must help their children pass through adolescence like those who pick their way among serpents, so that their children will make it through that period without losing anything of the joy of innocence. Colleen, tell us what led to you writing this book. I love this book. There are parts of it I don't necessarily agree with or practice, but that's what I love about you, is that we can talk about those things. But what led you to write this book, and how did it come to be?
Well, first of all, the book is it's like, okay, these are what we strive for. These are ideals. It's just like being Catholic. It's just like being a good Christian. It's why we go to confession, because we all fall short in the sight of God, right? So, and I've been highly criticized. It's funny because we were talking about this earlier this morning, where people will say, well, I don't like your book because you say blah, blah, blah. I never said that. I've never thought that. I've never said that. It's not in writing anywhere. Never, somebody said that about me and you believed them, so it's just like, no, never said that, but it was one of those situations. I was at a conference and I was talking to Dr. Alice von Hildebrand, and just sitting at her feet, not literally, but just listening to her. And she was talking and she was expounding on the beauty of femininity and the God-given graces that women have with our intuition and all the gifts that women are given. And they all geared toward, and this is a woman who wasn't blessed with children herself, but she said all these gifts that women have that are really geared toward motherhood, and well, how beautiful that is. And then she started talking about modesty and just the way, and I never use the word modesty. First of all, it's a hot button. So when you're talking to children, then do not use the word modesty,
Yeah.
which is why, if you want to get anywhere,
Don't use that word.
yeah, that's like, you know, throwing the thing out there on the floor. Oops, that's my phone. I thought I muted it. But you don't use that word. So anyway, she was talking about it, and I said, wow, that should be your next book. And she laughed, and she said, nobody's going to believe a gray-haired old lady with your background in television and modeling and your experience and the people that you know. They'll listen to you. You should write the book.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, I don't want to write a book on modesty because that would require me to be modest, right? So I did what all of us do. I'm going to pray about it, right? So I went to, because where the conference was, there was a 24-hour chapel there with, and so I went and prayed in front of the Blessed Sacrament. And you know, and I thought, okay, God, just tell me what to do. Give me some sort of sign, you know? And then I'd been kneeling and kneeling and kneeling. So I sat back down, and as I, you know, reached back on the pew to sit down, there was a book there, and I moved it out of the way. And I just looked down, and it was the 40 Dreams of John Bosco. And I went, interesting, never read the book. So I flipped through the book. Now, who here's read it? You know how much modesty is in that book. I know now because I've read it, but I hadn't read it at the time. So I flipped through it, and the first thing that of the page opened to was, in matters of modesty, there are no sins that are not mortal. I went, okay, best 2 out of 3. So I did it 3 times, and all 3 times when I randomly flipped open the book and just kind of did the thing with my finger and then looked down, it was a quote about dignity or modesty or something like that. So I said, you know, okay, I guess that's my 3 signs, right? Because if you're waiting for a sign, you know, like you have behind you, this is it, right? And so I thought, okay, and then I started researching it and I thought I was decently dressed, you know, I didn't think, you know, but then the more I researched it, I thought, you know, it's true and I think it's the quotes attributed to Muhammad Ali, but it goes back earlier than that the things that are precious in God's world that God created are difficult to find. Pearls are in oysters at the bottom of the ocean. Gold is deep within the ground. All of these precious jewels and things that are precious aren't just flaunted and easily available and easily accessible. And so when you relate that to the sacredness of a woman's body and how she participates with God in creation. So when you are carrying a child within you, you have 2 souls in your body, your soul and the soul of another person. This is a human being that you are carrying. And the awe that surrounds that, it's like a tabernacle. You know, I'm not saying we're tabernacles, but I'm just saying it's that sacredness. And there's reasons why the sacred things in our religion are veiled, they're concealed. It's because they are so holy, not that they're bad, not that they're dirty, not that they're, you know, but that they are beautiful. And I think Scott Hahn did the whole thing on when husbands and wives engage in an intimate embrace. It's a holy and sacred moment that they open themselves up to God to participate with them in creation. So there's so much beauty that surrounds our bodies and our relationships. And
what a magnificent call, you know, from Alice von Hildebrand. And I was always very grateful that that you endorsed Motherhood Matters and that Alice von Hildebrand. So she affected my life as well. I just wanted to pause a little bit and say hello to some of the folks here. Peggy, Dorothy, I remember how beyond thrilled you were to have Colleen speak at one of the first Dynamic Women of Faith conferences. Yeah, I was like,
such a good time.
To me, Colleen like walked on water. I was so excited. It's very hard, you know, doing all of this when there's no one around to support you. Peggy says, I'm remembering Colleen knows Mel Gibson. Do you know Mel Gibson?
I worked with Mel.
Okay.
We're not like exchanging Christmas card buddies. I was, yeah, that's another fun story that I won't get into, but I met him I was speaking at a conference at a Catholic conference in Chicago at the Navy Pier. And when he was going around showing the preview showings of the Passion of the Christ. And through a series of miraculous occurrences, I was able to meet him And I wrote on the back of my business card that I was a Catholic. And so when I met him and handed him the card, I had put this little private note on the back of it. And for some reason, he flipped it over and he looked at me and he handed his card to Paul Lauer and said, put her on the marketing team. And that was it.
Fantastic.
A week later, I was out in Santa Monica, California, working at Icon Productions, working on the marketing for the Passion of the Christ. And I did that for 7 months.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it would just be, me, Mel, Jim Caviezel, Steve McAfee, Paul Lauer, just sitting in a room talking about marketing,
Oh
just
my
an
God.
everyday occurrence.
Exciting,
So,
exciting.
yeah, it really was. But he was a
Yeah,
very good
I want to
man.
say hello to Grace from Maple Ridge in British Columbia. Hello to Claude from Vaughan. Hello to all of you. We've got 3 new messages. Yeah, so anyway, a big warm welcome to all of you. If you have any questions for Colleen, please be sure to put them in the chat box. Colleen, so what does it mean to dress with dignity? What does that mean?
That's wow. There's I wish I could have like 1 sentence for that. That's why I wrote a book 15 years ago. I really do want to update it. But I think it's understanding the dignity of the human person, both male and female. And I remember when I first came out with the book, 2004 was the first edition, 2005 is the second edition that's available now. And it was, they actually brought me, I was interviewed by MTV radio, and they brought me on the show pretty much to mock me. And I remember I wasn't going to do it. And my husband said, are you willing to be a fool for Christ? And he said, what's the value of one soul? What if one person listening is impacted? Doesn't that make it all worthwhile? And I said, yeah, it does, I guess. So I guess I'll do it. So they kind of asked that question, what does it mean to dress with dignity? So I'm like, So I said, well, it's understanding that men, because they were men that were interviewing me, I said, men are very attracted to the female form. And they were like, well, yeah, duh, and I said, so when you're out on the road, I just turned it around on them. I said, when you're out doing speaking engagements or you're out meeting people and these young women are throwing themselves at you, how are they dressed? And when they walk up to you, what are you looking at and what are you thinking about? And they kind of laughed and said, yeah, we're thinking about sex, we're just looking at their boobs, And I said, yeah. And I said, and do you hear much of what they're saying? And they laughed again and they said, no. And he said, one of the guys, after we had talked for a while, he said, this really makes a lot of sense, because when these girls come up to me, I'm married, I'm a happily married man, but it's hard because these girls will come up and say, will you sign, can I have your autograph? Yeah. Will you sign my boob? It's like, what do you do? And he said, so I find myself just thinking, as a married man, I don't want to be, tempted or whatever, but so I look at their eyes, look at their eyes, look at their eyes, look at their eyes. So I'm staring at their eyes so that I'm not looking at their body, and I never hear a word they said. So this was from a radio jockey at MTV. So I said, you just proved my point. So the point is not that our bodies are bad, it's that they're so good you want to look at them. So isn't it nice for me if I come with those parts a little bit more concealed, so that you and I can engage in a comfortable conversation? And he said, absolutely. So it's about understanding the dignity of the human person, both male and female, and that God made men to be very attracted to women.
And, I'm going to share a little bit of a personal story. I remember when I was in high school, and it just seemed like, I was everybody's kind of like best friend and didn't have a boyfriend. And I remember very, very distinctly a friend of mine saying, well, Dorothy, the problem is that you just don't dress sexy enough, and there was a huge movement, I guess in the early 70s, 80s, which, every single form of media was trying to push women, and still is, to look and be sexy. Like, let me get as much attention as I can. If you want a boyfriend, if you want to be popular, you've got to be sexy. And I'll never forget, once I was delivering a corporate seminar, and one woman came up to me, and her skirt, I swear, was just just below her vagina. Like she was so short. And she kind of looked at me and said, you know, the problem is I'm not getting any respect at work. Can you tell me why? And I was kind of like, oh. How do we deal as mothers with this onslaught? And I know I'm kind of going all over the place, but number one, why do you think there's been this rapid decline in women's fashions? And what can a mother do to kind of, I don't know, be a security guard? You know, what they're...
Yeah, well, and Sally just addressed that in the comments, talking about, you know, when you raise a daughter to dress modestly and then they get to that 16, 17, 18 years old, and then they're 18 and they leave the house. I have two daughters. They don't dress exactly how I wish they did, but they're adults now. They're 21 and 25. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we do the best we can to lay that foundation. And then but the culture has taken a drastic turn. Now, you know, we could look at a lot of different reasons why that is. We can say, you know, the devil's active. We can look back in the 1800s and know that Pope Leo was talking about the devil would be allowed 100 years reign and, you know, whatnot. Does that impact where we are in our lane right now in 2020, you know? But what can we do today, I think, is the bigger issue. Yeah, we are seeing this onslaught in the world. But what we want to get back to, we want to get away from Madonna being a boy toy in the 80s. And I think that's the 80s were this huge turnaround in our current culture, because really for all of human history, it's never really been an issue. You know, women, if you look at all, and I had a whole series that I did on the history of fashion. I think you can find it on my YouTube channel. I'm pretty sure it's still up. Let me give you a link to my YouTube channel. But the history of fashion has never been a problem. Women for thousands of years of human history have had like higher necklines, either 3/4 sleeves or long sleeves, and skirts to the floor with a defined waist. So, and usually something on their head. And it really wasn't until we got to the Roaring 20s, kind of a little bit Victorian era, but still like the skirts were, now they were 6 inches from the ground. Ooh, sexy ankles, you know?
I saw your ankle.
Yeah, truly. I mean, that's how attracted men are to the female form. And the sad thing now, okay, I'll just throw this in here, then I'll go back. The sad thing now is because men have become so desensitized to the female form, because they see it all over the place. They don't recognize it as being beautiful and sacred and wonderful to be shared with them and them alone. Now they just ogle, right? And they've lost the dignity of the human person, because now they're looking at body parts. Mm-hmm. And they see a woman, they see body parts. They don't see her character, her wit, her charm, her intelligence. Mm-hmm. And that's what happens. There is a quote from the 1800s, from 1864, I believe it was. I usually don't give the year. I usually ask people to guess. But the quote was, when a woman cannot attract a man with her wit and intelligence, she'll dress provocatively to attract a man. Ah. So that was in 1864. I mean, think about Civil War era clothing. I mean, it's, you know, there was a lot covered. So, but yeah, you don't really see a change in clothing in all of human history until we really get to the Roaring 20s. So then we went to the extreme flapper stage, and then it bounced back, but it never really fully went back. So by the time you got into the 40s and 50s, you know, we still had 3/4 sleeves and mid-calf length skirts, which, by the way, is the worst length because it makes your calves look fat, but that's another point. So then we get into the 60s, and we still, I mean, you think here in the United States, you think of President Kennedy and his wife, Jackie Kennedy Onassis, and she always dressed so refinedly in a hat, gloves, lipstick, you know, knees covered, waist defined, full length sleeves. Mm-hmm. And then you get into the rebellious 60s, the late 60s, and then you have Twiggy. And so then we went kind of the Roaring 20s thing, and then we bounced back a little bit, but not as much as we got into the 80s. So there's been this back and forth throughout the last 100 years. Our challenge now is there are a lot of beautiful clothing that we can get now. For example, if somebody wants to wear trousers, there's palazzos, and they're very, very, very much in fashion right now. That's what's going down the runway. These pencil jeans and skinny jeans and all that are out. which is good because for the most part, women have larger hips, and then you have these little pencil, and then you've got these little toothpicks with our large hips. And it's like, unless you got a skinny little booty, those don't really. So now we have nice trousers. So now is the time to buy these beautiful clothings and items because it is in fashion. And it'll swing back around. So it does swing back and forth. But I think when we're working with our culture and our daughters and our sons, that we don't let our sons go shirtless. We want them to have a sense of decorum. And that's why I entitled the book Dressing Dignity, so we can be dignified.
So what are some things possibly that moms can do to inspire their daughters? Because and just based on your experience and what you've heard, that like the dad's role in the whole thing, because I can't tell you how many times my husband would be driving our daughter Monica to an event, and he sees all of these fathers are dropping off their girls that look like hookers to a prom, and he's like, how is it that the father is allowing the daughter to,
And that's it right there. Hey, Bunny. I'm sorry, just glanced down and saw a friend. Hi, Bunny. But anyway, that's the situation right there. And so a lot of people they're like, oh, my 13-year-old daughter, she just dressed so horribly. Where's she getting the money?
Yeah.
Who's buying her these things? Snap the wallet shut. Because at that age, see, the mom handles the emotional growth from birth to about 10, 11, 12. And then once those hormones kick in for both boys and girls, that 12, 13-year-old age, then it comes down to the dad. Now the dad takes over. The emotional life has been built. And founded and shaped and formed by the mother. So this is when the baby falls and scrapes their knee. Who do they go to? They go to mom, because mom goes, oh, sweetie, come here. Let me get you, make her feel better. And dad goes, yeah, scars. Chicks dig scars, right? And that doesn't work for a 3-year-old. So, but once they get older, so then now they've got that emotional foundation that you've given them with all that unconditional love and how you support them. And then once they get 12, 13 years old, now dads take over. Mom becomes Charlie Brown's teacher. Wah, 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 wah. They don't listen to mom anymore. They listen to dads. And so the 100, and I do this at conferences all the time, because I ask for dads to be there, because I call them on the carpet. Dads, this is up to you, because you know how men think. We kind of try to understand. You kind of try to understand PMS. We kind of try to understand how men think. So you know how it works. So when the daughter comes down dressed in a certain way, dad goes, sweetheart, I love you. I love you. Go back upstairs and change. You're not leaving the house like that. Now, if they're asking you to buy them this stuff and you buy it for them, because what's a mom and dad to do? It's in fashion. Well, right now it's not, number one. Number two, who cares if it's in fashion? What's more important? Drawing the line and setting boundaries for your children in your home so that they, because aren't we forming souls for heaven?
No.
Or is it just like, I don't feel like arguing with my child? So it's up to the dads.
And I think part of the problem is, right now, so many moms are running around haggard, right? Because they're getting up early I know we're in the middle of the pandemic, so things have changed a little bit, but we're leaving the house at the crack of dawn, we're working full time, then we're, running to the local grocery store to pick up a chicken to serve for dinner. We are so exhausted, we are so haggard, that when it comes to discussing clothing, it's kind of like, I'm too tired, right?
I give up. Yeah, especially if it's an ongoing
if it's an ongoing battle. Now, one person, one person asks here, and what are we supposed to do? Our daughters are now posting pictures of themselves in bikinis on Instagram and on social media. Do you have any comments about that, Colleen?
Why are you allowing your children to have social media accounts when they're this young? I didn't allow my kids to. I mean, they pretty much had to leave home to get a social media account or a cell phone. But they got mobile phones because we had to pick them up at schools and that kind of stuff. That was and it's different now than it was even 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And my youngest is 21. They're 21, 23, 25, and 27. But yeah, you have to monitor all your, I mean, it's a full-time job to monitor your children's social media, number one. Number two, guess what? They have accounts that you don't know about that aren't in their real names. So you have to be really careful about that as well. So not only are you monitoring their accounts, you know, you should probably have their passwords. And who's paying for that mobile phone anyway? That's truly your phone, and you're paying for the plan. So there's ways to go onto your phone plan and find out, you know, where they are, what they're doing. I mean, but that's sure a lot of modern monitoring, and or unless you just say you can have one account. And the US and Australia are about to shut down TikTok. So, you know, I mean,
Wow, really?
you know, that's, yeah, I was reading that last night and this morning. So, I mean, you have to be really careful, because I see my daughter's girlfriends who are in their 20s, and the pictures that they post, the pictures that they post online. And even my daughters are like, oh, bless her heart.
Yeah, I know. And
She's really looking for attention.
you know, one thing I don't understand now is this tendency now for girls to be wearing those kind of bikinis where you can see their entire butt, you know?
Oh, the thongs, yeah.
Dogs on a beach, right?
I do not want to have dental floss between my cheeks. I just don't understand the comfort level on that either. So.
So, okay, so I guess just in terms of some practical tips. So, you know, one practical tip might be to have a conversation with your husband so that he's online, you know, with you, and he's making an active, he's taking an active role in it. Number two is like not to buy those kinds of, not to buy that type of clothing. Number three is to do more monitoring. I do think it's important to have just good old conversations, you know, and to remind our daughters that fashion hasn't always existed like this. And do you have any ideas on how we might actually be able to inspire our daughters? Like, are there any women now that you know of that actually are a good role model that we can point to?
Yeah, the thing is, you know, there are plenty. You can talk about the Duchess of Cambridge, Kate Middleton. I mean, she's a prime example of how she dresses. And if you go back to how she dressed at St. Andrews and in college, and, you know, that kind of stuff, that a little bit different than she dresses now as a royal.
Uh-huh.
But, you know, I was blessed a few years back to work with a conservative female who ran for president here in the United States. Because I say I work for the woman, and everyone thinks it was Hillary Clinton, and I'm like, no, it wasn't Hillary Clinton. But I work with a lot of politicians and attorneys and people, heads of state and that type of thing. I can't use their names because I have a non-disclosure agreement with them, but just think high-level politicians. And this is how they dress. So when you really look at women who are in positions of authority, so you look at, her name escapes me. Anyway, any of the female political leaders in Europe, you look at a lot of the senators here in the United States. You can look at Kate Middleton. When you look at women of power and authority, they're not dressed like Kim Kardashian.
No,
Not at all.
and so having those kinds of conversations with our daughters is extremely important.
Yeah.
I remember once getting into, I don't know, I guess like a cat fight with a woman online because she had posted that she had taken her daughter to a Lady Gaga concert, and then another woman had mentioned that she had taken her, you know, daughter to a Madonna concert. And, you know, I made the case that she was morally culpable because
Yeah.
she was actually encouraging, you know, horrible behavior. And, you know, she thought I was a prude. You know, she thought I was a prude. And she ended up blocking me. And I guess it's shocking to see Catholic moms, you know, liking those bikini pictures on Facebook. It's shocking for Catholic moms not to understand the gravity of it. So Rema Chelio says here, what is even more concerning are those provocative posts, and yet parents are liking them. Yeah.
Right.
And so I think using Kate Middleton as an example,
Mhm.
reminding our girls that, women who are in authority, women who are, making a difference in the world, and showing them. Any other
Well,
practical
and
advice?
that's part of it.
Okay.
Because they're going to say, yeah, but I'm not the head of state. I want to go to prom. So you boil it down to that kind of thing. So, and it's a challenge because as soon as you point out someone in particular, and that's why Kate Middleton is safe, because she's a royal, and I know she's going to be required to dress this way pretty much always.
Yeah.
But then you have things. There was a Emma Thompson. I remember her coming out and she said, "I would never dress immodestly, and I this and I that." And you look at her now, it's like, girl, apparently you forgot what you said.
Yeah.
So it's hard to point out like a Hollywood starlet or something, because they may be like Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift was really sweet, cute, modest, and not so much anymore. Not bad, but not so much anymore.
Mhm.
So it's almost like you have to hunt and search for a recent type, and don't do Billie Eilish, because then your daughter will have green in the front and black hair in the back and she'll be dressed like a homeless person, but so you just kind of have to look around, and not in a judgmental way. It's more of, bless her heart,
Mhm.
you know.
And and then too, as Catholic moms, we also don't want to kind of be seen as, mothers that are kind of prude and weird, and
Mhm.
and all that stuff. How would you respond to, Jennifer Lopez, who says that, wow, you just haven't embraced your healthy sexuality?
Yeah.
How do you respond to those women who honestly believe that it's a natural expression of our? How do you respond to that, Colleen?
And Dina just said Courtney Tolliver. I'm not familiar with that. I know the name. I don't know who that is. Yeah, it's one of those, like, if you got it, flaunt it, right?
Uh-huh.
And that's that whole public philosophy of, yeah, you got it, flaunt it. To whom? It's fine if you want to flaunt it to your husband in private. And
Mhm.
yeah, embrace your body and your sexuality in private with your husband. You know,
Mhm.
let's cut down on the PDA. And how do you feel when people are making out in public? It's still a little bit oogie. It's like, get a room. I mean, that's what we used to say. Geez, get a room. Um, you know, and it's just, you can look at somebody at a party that's slobbering drunk and they're making out in the corner, and you think how inappropriate, but then somebody comes in half naked, and hey, if you got it, flaunt it. No, that's all for the privacy of the bedroom. And it's a good holy sacred thing there, just not in public. And so learning to teach our daughters their personal value, helping them grow in self-confidence, self-worth, and give them that confidence. And when they're dressed elegantly, beautifully, in a dignified manner, oh my gosh, you look like, and find someone like, if she likes Princess Kate, I don't know who Courtney Tolliver is, but thank you, Dina, I will check her out. Um, Finding someone that you can, and sometimes it takes some looking around and finding good qualities. So you take Lady Gaga. I watched the documentary on her, 5'2", I think it's called, on Netflix. Raised Catholic. Her whole family's very Catholic. Her mother doesn't approve of what she's doing and how she dresses.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. She goes, yeah, my mother doesn't like what I do. But when she's home, she respects her mom. She goes and stays with her mom. Her most recent album was dedicated to her grandmother, who didn't approve of what she did and how she dressed, because her family is such staunch Catholics.
Yeah, she
Um,
went to a private Catholic school.
Yeah. So, I mean, you look and then you see all the charitable activities that she engages in and stuff. So I don't like to throw the baby out with the bathwater. So if my daughters were attracted to, and I can't think of an example off the top of my head, because like I said, they're 21 and 27. So I'm a good 10, 15 years past this, but they would like a certain somebody, that they had seen. So I find out something good about that person and say, Stephanie or Lady Gaga, she struggles with, I forget what disease it is, but she's in pain a lot. And bless her heart, she still gets out there and performs. And look at all the activities that she's engaged in. That's amazing. but that whole meat dress thing, she must have done that for publicity. I don't get it. But, people in the public eye, sometimes they're pressured to do things and wear things that they really don't want to deep down inside. So if you can don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, because as a teenager, they idolize these people.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can find something good about the person and then, just kind of turn it around a little bit, because we all have our positives and negatives about us. And, and God still loves that person just as much as he loves us. So yeah, it's like kind
Yeah,
of like,
and so it is, I think you're like bang on. It's so important to, be charitable when you're talking, about these women. I'm going to kind of switch channels a little bit because I can't believe it. It's like 10 to 3. We've got 10 minutes left. I know. Where did it go? Where did it go?
And I'm getting a number of questions. Is there a replay? I'm assuming there is a replay.
Well, there's a lot of, I am recording it, but there's a lot of parts of technology I haven't figured out yet. So just,
okay.
but
okay.
I want to ask you a question, Colleen.
You bet.
Right now with the COVID pandemic, a lot of women are, staying at home more than they've ever stayed at home. And whether you're working or not working, we're spending more time at home. And I want to kind of take a look at the journey of a woman and fashion. And I know that often when we're staying at home, I don't know about you, but sometimes we shower less, when we're staying at home. Sometimes we put on a little bit less makeup. Sometimes when we're staying at home, our hair gets a little greasier, right? And I think there's a real temptation, and I'm one of those women, to kind of throw out the towel. And I think there's, I've had to face it myself, that like when our daughters are facing us and our hair isn't washed and we don't have any makeup on, and, we are wearing leggings for the 10th day in the row, and our husbands kind of look at ourselves. And can you talk a little bit about the importance about the way a mother dresses and the ripple effect that it has? And I know you've got some great resources, and I want you to share those resources with us. And I know you've got a special on. And
I do, yeah.
So,
well, let me just throw this in there too, because I have a stay-at-home mom capsule wardrobe. Now, this is normally, the sale price of this was $79. And so I developed a new sales button so that the people that are here can get it for $27. So the link is now in the chat. Did I put a share to all? Yes, I did. But this is twofold. First of all, there's confirmation bias. So how we dress impacts how we think about ourselves. So you feel better about yourself when you take a shower and, you get dressed up. They did a study where they gave people white jackets, and some people, they told them that was an artist's coat. The other people, they told them they were a doctor. And then they tested them. The people who thought they were wearing an artist's smock scored better in creativity and all that kind of stuff. The people who thought they were wearing a doctor's jacket scored better in analytical skills. It's just straight across the board. The study's been done numerous times. So what you wear impacts how you think about yourself. It also impacts how other people think about you. And so I've got this will be good. This will be good for your girls too. This is the 7 judgments people make about you in 7 seconds. This is a good one. And there's a little freebie. So, so when we're around our daughters, we're in the home, they see us 80 hours a day. I mean, or a week or whatever, a day. Seems like 80 hours a day sometimes. But they see us more often. And then if we're dressed one way at home, but we're telling them when they go out in public, they have to dress a different way, there's a sense of incongruity there and disingenuousness that they pick up on. They're like, yeah, but you're wearing yoga pants. Why can't I wear yoga pants? They don't make the distinction in home, out of home. So how we dress at home, and I've had women say this to me all the time. Yeah, I wear.
I just have to tell you, I just got to double check my charger. So you keep on going. I'm just going to check something. Okay, hold it. You keep on going.
No problem. You know me, just put in a quarter. I'll go on for 3 hours. But so yeah, you don't have to wear makeup. I stress skincare. Now, see, I have another interview after this, so I'm dressed for Los Angeles television after this. So So I'm going to wear a little bit more makeup for a specific situation where I wouldn't in another situation. Most important thing is skincare.
Mm.
So teaching skincare is going to be a top priority. But yeah, so that freebie should be learn the 7 judgments people make about you in 7 seconds. And if you can show girls that people, a gut reaction in 0.2 of a second, 0.2 of a second, when somebody first looks at you, they determine whether they're going to trust you or not.
Wow, that's remarkable. I've got
Less than a second.
Yeah, I got a couple of comments here. This is great. Peggy says, I did have that goal during the whole lockdown. Put in my contacts, put on some makeup, and get dressed for the girls to see I had respect for myself and for them.
And for them, exactly,
And
Peggy.
for
You
them.
nailed it.
And Karen, this is a great comment. I had an older brother who took it upon himself to tell me how men think. Thank God for him. It was hard to hear, but it saved me a lot. Um, and the other thing, if I could, I'd talk about for, I don't know how long, but just this hookup culture that seems to have permeated our culture, but we're not going to go there. We don't have the time. So would you share some more resources with us, Colleen? What are some other things that you think that, put them in the links, other programs that you think our moms might enjoy?
Oh gosh, there's so many things. A lot of what I do, because dressing with dignity was why we should dress dignified, but my entire life has been devoted to teaching women how to dress, that what colors are appropriate for them, what body type, and that type of thing. And I've been, there's going to be critics all over the place, and people are like, oh, you've abandoned dressing with dignity. No, this is part 2.
Yeah,
Dressing with dignity was why. This is how.
exactly.
And I know that there's other people out there that teach, oh, this is how you should dress for church. Make sure that your spaghetti, spaghetti straps, make sure it's I'm going by church guidelines. I don't make up my own rules when it comes to this kind of stuff. And I think Holy Mother Church has come up with specific guidelines for a reason. And they're really simple. No low plunging necklines. Try to keep your knees covered. Try to have them covered when you're sitting down. Nothing tight, nothing clingy, nothing sheer, and have your upper arms covered. And guess what? When I'm working with politicians, heads of state, CEOs, etc., exact same guidelines. Because to be taken seriously as a woman, that's how you dress. So when other people are saying this is modesty, they're using their own guidelines. I just stick with the church's guidelines and I teach from there, because coincidentally, it's exactly what works, and it's called natural law. God created these laws, and when the church recognizes them and says nothing tight, nothing clinging, nothing sheer, no plunging necklines, no skirts way above your knees, and then have your upper arms covered. How hard is that? Serious.
Yeah, I saw those guidelines posted when I went to visit the Vatican.
Yeah.
Those are the guidelines that they're posted. So there are some questions here. I work in a Catholic school, and we need to dress appropriately to be good role models.
Yep.
Someone's asking here, what do you do in the good old-fashioned Texas heat? What do you think about tank tops? What are your thoughts?
I live in Texas. It's 105 here. The heat index today, I think, is 111. So I would not wear this blazer out. This is the shirt that I have on underneath. I think I don't know what it is. I think it's short sleeve. Yeah, it's a short sleeve. So, there are ways to wear something lightweight, because guess what? It's 111 outside. I'm not outside. I have air conditioning. So, I don't get it when people say, oh, it's too hot outside. Well, yeah, but you're going to be outside for 11 seconds when you walk from your car into the air conditioning from your car into the air conditioning of the house. Now, I don't keep it 70 degrees in the house, so I am dressed. And guess what's cooler than anything on this planet? A dress. Because pure airflow from top to bottom, not to be indelicate, but pure airflow. So don't wear a tight dress, wear a nice loose dress. Linen is the best, although it wrinkles. Cotton, you can get a cotton, even a cotton spandex mix. So it's like 85% cotton or 95% cotton, 5% spandex. And it's just going to be it's not going to wrinkle, and it's going to be a little bit more comfortable, and it's cool.
Yeah, and I know we're kind of jumping all over the place. We've only
That's
got
fine.
a few minutes left, but I did want to share with all of you, and these are not Catholic books, but I found myself reading a lot when I was raising my daughter. One book I found very helpful, Reviving Ophelia,
Ah,
Queen Bees and Wannabes, another great book. You're wearing that?
I've never seen that one.
This book was fantastic. The Odd Girl Out. I always, said to my daughter, really? I do want you to be different, and I don't want you to be like just everyone out there.
Mm-hmm.
Another great book was Bringing Up Girls by
Mm-hmm.
Dr. James Dobson.
Yeah.
I found that raising a daughter in this culture, I wanted her to be confident, and I wanted her to, I always said, you can be a BMW or you can be a beat up old Ford, when it comes to
Right.
the way that you dress. And so
Right.
just to, and any kind of closing thoughts, Colleen, that as we're kind of, I'm so glad we had this time to.
I know, God, it went so fast. Every time we're together, it goes by fast anyway. But I just remember we were in the car and your husband was like, "Oh my gosh, you guys are two peas in a pod." It was like words were crashing.
Yeah. Well, you know what I love about you, Colleen, is you really help me very personally, because I've always mourned that I'm not quiet and shy and sweet and demure and gentle. And I never thought I was feminine because I'm like Dorothy, right? and, uh, and you really helped me affirm my personhood. So
Your God-given personality.
yeah,
It's we're not all called to be in the public eye. We're not all called to write computer programs. We're not all, each of us have been given a gift by God. And, and I get around some of these very soft-spoken, very holy, and I'm like, doggone it, I'm pretty holy too. I'm just a little bit more vocal. So, but yeah.
no, and
Um,
gosh, everyone knows that I fell in love with you then, and I'm falling in love with you all over again. We've got 9 new messages. Oh my gosh.
I know, that's okay. So somebody wants the garments. Okay. So Susanna, oh, hey. Oh, and just if you go to the, yeah, and I have that. Yeah, Sarah, do you have the link, Sarah? Hi, Sarah. Yeah, the 7 judgments people make about you in 7 seconds. That will then you'll get an email back from me for that. And then you can reply to that email and then I can send you, because we are putting together a PDF of the top 5 garments that every woman should own.
Colleen, someone's asking if you could post the Dressing with Dignity Facebook page. So I don't know if you can access to that. Maybe, but you know what? I should be posting some of our stuff.
Oh, that's so funny.
You know what? I don't really know how to do it, but for some of you, if you could, please visit our website at CatholicMomsGroup.com. You're so good at promoting yourself, I forget how to do it myself. But anyway, I am really hoping that somebody here is going to be called to start a mother's group. I am really hoping that someone here will, follow us on Instagram. I'm really hoping that someone here will follow the I Love My Catholic Moms Group Facebook page as well. If you feel called, we do depend on donations, so please, make a donation if you can.
Well, and not only that, if I can make a plug for you from my point of view, St. Paul told Titus that, and I forget where it is in the Bible, but trust me, he said it, that it's an obligation. You know what? I might actually have had it pulled up. Oh, here it is. Titus 2, verses 4-5. Paul said to Titus, that older women should train the young women to love their husbands and children, to be self-controlled, pure, working at home, kind and submissive to their husbands, that the word of God may not be reviled. So St. Paul calls upon the older women generation, so we don't have children in the home right now. Should we not be the ones leading and helping the younger generation to embrace this holy vocation of motherhood?
Yes.
And to, because you know what, it's a hard, lonely road out there, and we need to be helping each other and supporting each other and lifting each other up. That's why I get so sad when I get on Facebook and women are attacking other women. Doggone it, we're having a hard enough time out here as it is. Let's support each other. Let's encourage each other. When somebody has a win, let's applaud, and lift each other up. So yeah, I do hope women here that are watching just get involved, do something, and see if you can either start a group or support a group, or if there's nothing in your area and you can't do, make a donation. Just
Yeah.
make a donation so that other people can get a group started, and Dorothy can send them materials to help them out. Maybe they can't afford the materials, but with your donation, Dorothy can help them get something started.
Yeah, and I still have to send a copy to Colleen, but we've got this beautiful publication,
That's lovely.
full color on how to start a Catholic moms group. Uh, we've got a lot of them in storage, and we'd love if you bought a couple.
Yeah, really.
We also have a study guide with 52 different lessons for different mothers groups. What drives me crazy, and I know it's time to go because it's 3:01, but what drives me crazy is when Catholic moms are going to MOPS to start a mother's group. I'm like, we have Catholic materials. We've got a Catholic mothers group starter kit. The whole process is duplicatable. I always say it doesn't take rocket science to start a mom's group.
Where two or three are gathered in our name. It doesn't take a lot of people either.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. So anyway, Colleen, as always, it's such a blast to spend time with you. It's such a gift. People are asking, is Colleen going to come back? Is Colleen going to come back? I hope that we can have you back sometime.
Yeah, maybe when the mask things are lifted. I actually had one in here and I can't reach it, but I had a mask. I was going to start with a mask on, and then it's out of reach. It's way over there.
Yeah, I know that I'm just in closing because I want to be respectful of everybody's time.
Yeah.
But I know, Colleen, that your daughter had COVID. Any kind of thoughts on how are you dealing with COVID? Just a couple of closing thoughts.
Yeah, she had it really, really bad and it was scary, and it was before they knew all the information had really come out. So she had it and they sent her home because they were confused. They said, well, we have no idea what this is. What's with the fever and the lungs and it's kind of presenting as a virus, but we don't know. So they sent her home and they said, it's a virus that'll run its course 7 to 10 days. 2 weeks later, she was worse. And so at that point, all the news started to come out and things started to close down. It was mid-March. And she came down with it at the end of February. So February 28th, we backtracked it. So yeah, it was a very difficult time. And so I know a lot of people are, oh, it's a hoax, it's this, it's that. It's a very real disease. Nobody else in my family got it. We apparently are immune to it. Because I thought it was just the flu I just took care of her, and we have babies in the home and that type of thing that she was dealing with as well. Nobody in our family other than my oldest daughter got it, but it took her over a month to get really out of bed.
Oh my gosh.
And now here we are, how many months later, and she gets a little paranoid every time she coughs. And then my other daughter's boyfriend tested positive and got it. And then almost his entire family went down, and all of us were exposed to him, and none of us got it from him.
Wow.
So we've been very blessed that my oldest Darcy was the only one that really came down with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, well, plus we homeschooled, so we're kind of used to staying at home anyway. But for me, it's just, wear a mask. And, there's a lot of people saying it's my civil right to, run red lights or whatever. I don't know, yeah, it is. But you know what? You're not helping anybody by running red lights. So just, put a little mask on before you go into the store. Why not? It's not going to hurt. And it's only for a couple of minutes. It's kind of like wearing a sleeve in 105 temperature here in the States, or which would be what, about 33 Celsius for y'all. But yeah, I mean, just I do just be prudent, and God only knows why this is happening. It's outside of any of ours control.
Yeah, it is.
God has allowed it. This is our current situation, and life from here on out is going to be a little bit different. Just like after 9/11 and all that, it's been different for us, and life's going to be a little bit different. There's nothing we really can do about it except for pray and remain joyful. And
Now, Colleen, I know I keep on saying this is the last question, but this really is the last question. One thing that drives me crazy is like when people are kind of like victims and sad and depressed forever, right? Like we've all met women that just seem like permanently, negative and whatever. I know in the last little while you have battled cancer. You have lost your mom. Your daughter's had COVID. You've been in a, serious car accident.
Yeah.
And bada boom, bada bing, look at you. Tell us about your mindset, or tell us about your resilience strategy. Like, how is it that you just keep on, like
it's like one of those punching bag things. It's like you just punch it and it goes down and it pops back up again. That's what a friend of mine said. He goes, "You're like one of those little punching bags, you just keep weebles wobble, but they don't fall down." But to me, it's I choose to focus on the positive. It was funny because a couple of days ago, I actually did. Here's my Facebook video on that: 5 ways to remain self-motivated, which you didn't know about. But anyway, but that's something I did a couple of days ago on my Facebook Live show, and just talked about how you remain looking, and God has allowed it. And the thing is that when you focus on the past, that's depression, because you tend to think about the past and you think about negative things, and then when you start focusing too much on the future, that's when you get anxious and stressed out about things.
Right.
The joy is the God-given moment that we have right now together. And we are so focused on the past and the future that we forget about the beautiful things that are right here and right now in front of us. And so I think if we're faced with a situation, we need to pivot and make some changes. And I think it was Einstein that said insanity is doing the same thing and expecting results, right? And then spending time with people that make you feel good, like this. I always feel good when I'm with you. I love doing this. When you ask me to be on, I'm like, yeah. So I want to be around people who, I don't want to leave and go, I just don't like people who wallow. And unfortunately, sometimes they're in our own family or we're married to them, but so there's a situation with that. But you want to spend time with people that make you feel good. Give yourself some TLC. You can't pour from an empty cup. So make sure that you are filling yourself spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally, and keeping yourself ready, and being grateful. And there's that saying that if you woke up tomorrow morning or if you woke up this morning only having the things that you were grateful for last night before you went to bed, what would you have today? Mm-hmm. So being able to sit down and focus on the beauty of clean water and air conditioning and just being and just filling yourself up with the love and joy and peace of God, and being grateful for the gifts. Because who knows, I was in a car accident, broke my back, I was laid up for almost a whole year, sprained my spine, had severe concussion, post-concussive syndrome, and I had to be off all screens, televisions, phones, everything for minimum of 6 months. And I used that time to read books and try to build relationships and do other things. So yeah, there's some pivots that need to be made. But I think sometimes people just want the attention. So they complain because they want people to say, "Oh, bless your heart, let me give you a hug,"
Yeah. And I think it brings it back full circle. I think very often our daughters who are dressing immodestly, all they want is some attention. All they want is some affection. All they want is someone to recognize them. And so with everybody being as busy as we are, are we taking the time to affirm one another in our own families? So anyway, in closing, I keep on thinking, you know, God knows about this pandemic. He certainly didn't make the pandemic happen, but he knows about it. And we're all now spending more time within our own four walls. And that's not all bad. You know, that's not all bad. So I wanted to thank each and every one of you who came on today. Thank you, Vicenta. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Claude. Thank you, Christina. Thank you, Rema. Thank you, Cam. Thank you, Denise. Thank you all, each and every one of you, for joining us today. Love you very much. Please know that after the session is over, I'm going to be praying a rosary for all of you. I usually pray the rosary ahead of it, but today I kind of got, just yesterday was a crazy day. So instead, I'm going to be praying after the session for you in hopes that whatever graces that you've received, that they stick. Please visit Colleen's website, www.colleenhammond.com. Please visit our website, www.catholicmomsgroup.com. Or if you like, you can also visit, I'm going to get really fancy now. Watch this, dorothypilarski.com.
There you go.
Oh, thank you, because I'm not as good and fast and sophisticated as Colleen is, but I love her to pieces. Thank you, Colleen, for today. It was wonderful chatting with you, seeing you, and hopefully we can have you back. And I'm definitely going to sign up for one of your courses. You just have to tell me which one. Tell me which one and how to do it, and I'll do it.
There you go.
So anyway, I wanted to say goodbye to all of you. And I know some people said, you know, you ended that last meeting so abruptly. So I've tried to make it a gradual close, but it is 3:12, so pretty soon.
And we didn't get to Susanna's question about swimming, so sorry about that, Susanna.
Someone asked about swimming, so what are your thoughts there?
That's a hot button.
Don't swim. No, joke.
Yeah, it's, you know, I mean, there's still bathing suits that you can get that aren't going to make you look like you're in a burqa, you know. So you know, you can use some beautiful tankinis and there's a lot of skirted swimsuits out there. And, you know, we have a pool, so we never go to public beaches. But that's going to be a mom and dad, you know, that's different in every family.
Yeah, it is.
And I have strong thoughts on it, but like Bunny says, Land's End has some, and there's different places that you can shop based on where you're at with your journey. And some people are going to be more comfortable with one thing or another. Yeah.
And, you know, we're all in different places, you know, in this journey. I think the fact, you know, we've all got to be just striving, right? Striving. So, Colleen, thank you very much. Hopefully you'll come back someday to our little, you know, virtual mothers groups. It was a joy having you. I love you to pieces. And I'm going to say, I'm going to say adios, do widzenia, goodbye, ciao, and we'll see you all soon. Okay, bye now, bye-bye.
Guten Abend.
Okay. Yeah. Love you.